This is IGN.
The long-awaited Japan adventure sharpens and refines its edge without fully reforging it. This is your IGN review of Assassin's Creed Shadows by Jarrett Green. It's wild that it took almost 20 years and dozens of games for the biggest stealth action series around to finally bend towards feudal Japan. Assassin's Creed Shadows makes the most of that theme with a great pair of shinobi and samurai heroes sharing center stage that are well-written and fun to skulk through giant castles or wade into vicious battles with. Besides the setting, the bulk of the changes this time focus on making smaller tweaks to well-established systems, such as less cluttered maps and skill trees, while also doubling down on things that really worked in 2023's Assassin's Creed Mirage, like the more focused and tougher combat that accompanies its better-paced main quests. It's not a perfect reset, as imbalances and missed opportunities abound, but I feel more confident than ever that Assassin's Creed could be back and here to stay. The story overall is paced similarly to Valhalla, where the cardinal reason to be in each of the 9 regions of the map is to play through a mostly self-contained chapter. That said, Shadows does a better job of making sure at least some story elements and characters don't just completely vanish when you leave a region the way they did in its predecessor. Most of the missions in Shadows starts on the objective board, a bigger and more elaborate chart of people that need assistance and targets that need eliminating adapted from Assassin's Creed Mirage. Thematically, this approach matches the tone of using all the information you gather to identify hidden members of the secret society trying to plunge Japan into chaos. Functionally, the way it organizes outstanding tasks and the people involved is far more useful than the old bulleted quest lists. It does trade some of the magic of exploration away as a cost of this efficacy, though. Assassin's Creed Mirage's return to the stealthy style that launched this series doesn't do everything right, but everything it does feels like it was done with purpose. This means a shorter game with a smaller map, fewer collectibles, smaller scope in combat, and a limited selection of gear to play with, all of which I found refreshing relative to the arguably bloated scale of 100-hour games like Odyssey and Valhalla. It also means an overly simplistic plot with mostly forgettable characters, but what the story lacks in depth, it makes up for with its straightforward quest progression and fast pacing. Combat overall is more challenging than in the past. Enemies, especially in groups, are more aggressive, relying on combos and unblockable attacks as often as possible. They also tend to have solid defenses, both in that they block a lot and also in that many of them are armored, essentially giving them a second life bar. Effectively taking them down means having a solid defense of your own, dodging and deflecting their blows to make them vulnerable, and taking advantage before they recover. It requires a more thoughtful execution of your various abilities than previous games have, and I never felt like combat was a chore in and of itself, though the camera really struggled to keep all of the action in frame, and doubly so when inside buildings. Assassin's Creed Shadows takes a flashing blade to the series' established norms, trimming them to a more precise form in lieu of chopping them down outright. Combat is aggressive and requires more intentional parrying and skill management than in the past, and exploring the gorgeous provinces of Sengoku period Japan is encouraged thanks to the revamped map that de-emphasizes collecting icons and checking off lists. Naoe and Yasuke are well-realized and memorable protagonists, even though most of the story they drive follows pretty predictable paths. Both have unique playstyles that bolster each other's weaknesses, but they are ultimately imbalanced by the fact that you can make use of the stealth and exploration skills of the Master Shinobi far more than the superhuman strength of the samurai. This isn't the Assassin's Creed that will change the minds of folks that never connected with the series before, but for those of us with lots of hours logged in the Animus, the sum of Shadows' parts provide a refreshing realignment of the series that you should not skip. Assassin's Creed Shadows IGN score? 8 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest updates on Assassin's Creed Shadows, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.